Louis Pasteur, conqueror of disease. On the field of battle in one of his campaigns, Napoleon decorated for bravery a certain tanner named Pasteur. This brave soldier had an equally brave son, Louis Pasteur, born 7 years after Waterloo. He was not a soldier, but he was a fighter. He fought disease. He devoted his life to the study of what we sometimes call germs, which men of science call bacteria, a Greek word meaning little rods. Bacteria are vegetable organisms, little rod-shaped plants, which exist in the air, water and soil, and in the bodies of animals and plants. Some but not all are the causes of diseases. Some convert matter into food for plants. Louis Pasteur had a very busy and interesting life. He not only made some exciting discoveries about germs, but he was able to use his discoveries in very practical ways. He worked hard in his laboratory with test tubes and all kinds of experiments, but nearly all the time he was working to help people who were suffering in some special way from disease. Among the people whom Pasteur was able to help were brewers, breeders of silkworms, and cow keepers, all of whom were trying to carry on important industries in France. Pasteur was always very proud of being able to help his country in this way. Louis Pasteur, born in a country little French town, was interested in chemistry when he was very young. After studying hard in Paris and showing great promise, he began to teach and lecture as professor of chemistry. He became a professor at Strasbourg in Alsace, and he married a wife who was always to be his closest companion and assistant. Pasteur was deeply interested in all the new experiments that were being made in chemistry, and decided to solve some of the difficult problems that were worrying chemists and other scientists. Sometimes he used to sit for hours, quite silent and motionless, thinking hard about one of his difficulties. He found this the easiest way to solve a problem, and when he thought of a solution, his kind, tired-looking face would brighten with pleasure and excitement, and he would rush round to tell his discovery to his wife and to others who were helping him. In 1854, Pasteur was appointed head of a college of science at Lille, a busy manufacturing town in the northeast of France. He was pleased about this, because he always felt that trades and industries could be helped very much by the researches of men of science. His chance to be useful soon came. One of the chief industries in Lille was the manufacture of alcohol from beetroot, and he was fortunate in being able to carry out experiments in some of the breweries. One manufacturer consulted Pasteur about his beer, which was turning out badly, and Pasteur, by helping this brewer, managed to discover all sorts of things that he did not know before about yeast. Yeast is used to make beer foam and bread rise up lightly. Pasteur became certain that yeast was alive, made up of tiny living cells. When these cells were healthy, the yeast acted well, but if they were diseased, the yeast and the beer went wrong. After a few years, Pasteur was made director of scientific studies at a famous college in Paris. He was still thinking about decay and yeast and germs, and one of the problems that he was trying to answer was this: do germs form from other germs, or do they just come of themselves? People like Pasteur believed that germs were carried in the air and might infect other things that came in contact with them. Others believed in what they called spontaneous generation, i.e., they believed that germs had no parents but just occurred by themselves. Pasteur proved that he was right by a very simple and clever experiment. He put some soup into some bottles and then he boiled it in order to destroy any germs that might already be in the soup. After that he heated and pulled out the neck of each bottle until it formed a long narrow neck with a big bend in the middle.